What's up, guys? It's your boy Zowoki back at with another, of course, banger of a Chris Watts video because the man is literally pissing me off. Doesn't matter. No, it doesn't, because no one cares that people are pissed off that Chris Watts is literally getting to enjoy somewhat of humanistic things that we are allowed to have, and that is his mistress, or not his mistress, his wife, or new wife, whatever have you. But in a Chris Watts rare prison letter, Nichol was into dark things and his shocking murder claims are intensified. And this is from Watts the Obsession. I know some of you may not like Watts the Obsession. We're not here for that. We're here for the information. We're here to dissect and to dissect the information and to also find details in this evidence. And again, if you we're not supposed to dislike people or hate people. There are haters that I've had before. I do not hate them. I might disagree with them, but we are told to love thy neighbor and love thy enemy. And if you don't like that I'm watching from her channel, I'm sorry, I can't help you, because this is our channel, Zowokians. And for the Zowokians that want to watch, let's get into that video.
I remember Nichol Kessinger being there. All I know is that I felt like I was compelled by evil.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
I remember Nichol Kessinger being there. All I know is that I felt like I was compelled by evil to do things that I've never.
Do you hear that?
I remember Nichol Kessinger being there. All I know is that I felt like I was compelled by evil to.
Okay. I remember.
Do things that I've never thought about or done before in my life.
Here's a little preview of some of the things that Chris Watts says in his letter from prison to, well, a lady friend. I opened up and confided in her, the first of my many mistakes. The 110-minute conversation on August 12th is still a blur. She texted me the entire way out to the oil field site on August 13th. So that's the morning of the murders. I'm not sure what is a complete truth, other than I felt like I was under some sort of compulsion. That is why I suspect Nikki and Jim being involved.
Or Jim, and I'm not saying you have to give it to
Just leave Jim alone.
If at some point,
What we're going to talk about in this video is going to make Chris Watts' former mistress a little uncomfortable.
Yes, we're here for it. Oh, the ticking. I don't know if I like that. Oh, I don't like it.
Hey, true crime friends and fam, welcome back to Watts the Obsession True Crime. In this video, we are going to be talking about Chris Watts, and specifically about a 5-page letter that he sent from prison to a female who wished to remain anonymous.
Who?
We're also going to hear some audio clips of Chris talking to that same female person from Dodge Correctional Facility in Wisconsin when he was in prison, and he has some very interesting things to say. Now, I just need to make it clear that it is not who the recipient of this letter is that is important. It is what is said in this letter. But I will tell you, for context and transparency, that the recipient is one of two people. And I'll be giving you the full scoop on that, of course, in just a couple moments.
Okay.
This letter that is very...
Hold on. Because when I met Nikki, I didn't know I was unhappy. But she asked all those questions that brought it out of me. She sought me out. She got plenty of attention in the office. But, so she's getting more manly attention. That's a confirmation. But her aim was set on me. Even showing her a picture of my kids and telling her I was married. did not deter her efforts. She asked questions about my marriage that no one else did. I opened up and confided in her, the first of many mistakes.
This letter that is verified to be from Chris Watts is a pretty rare find, and I read some of it during a recent live stream, but...
Oh, it's it. Hold on. I could prove it. Then it would show no intent.
Live stream.
Hello? My button game is not really good right now. Okay.
Is a pretty...
Mother fudge. I'm having a hard time to hear today, guys.
In just a couple moments. This letter that is verified...
Okay, then I retaliated, but I don't see it. The way Nikki looked at me when I walked out of sentencing? Oh, hold on. What? I don't see it. The way Nikki looked at me when I walked out of sentencing. She smiled like, gotcha. I told you she was there. The discovery shows she called Jim constantly before me and after me, yet she says Jim didn't love him, know him. The 110-minute conversation on August 12th is still a blur. She texted me the entire way out to the oil site on, I knew she did.
To be from Chris Watts is a pretty...
To spell it, she took a stone with her on a camping trip, and it's how she represents her grandma. In the discovery, she was looking up things that were going through my mind. Did she put those thoughts there? I go over it all the time in my mind. It felt like I was hunted, like prey. She found someone with broken and devoured me whole. Not only me, but everyone in my home.
Rare find, and I read some of it during a recent live stream.
Gosh, I missed that one.
Is a pretty rare find, and I read some of it during...
If I could prove it, then it would show no intent, and my sentence would be drastically then why doesn't he? It just doesn't make sense on that part. Like, if it would drastically be reduced, I honestly don't think it would. If there was intent to show that she was there too, it would just add her on it. But again, are they going to probably do it? Probably not. Because they're that ill-willed and they don't give a crap. They got their checks. They got their pay. They can't even explain the case properly. They don't want to talk about the case. Why? Because they don't want to bring out things that they did wrong. You can sit there and tell me all day long. My belief is that Nichol was involved. I don't know how way. We've saw it. We've seen it. I wholeheartedly believe it. You can't change my mind. The only way you could change my mind would to show evidence that Nichol was in her apartment, literally with her phone. Like, that was how you would have to show me. But there's not. But it doesn't change the feat that I believe my hands did this. The darkness I fight every day, and God is there to help me. Not only God, but my family and you. Something. I know the love that is in my heart to care for those in need, and it brings me to my knees in disbelief that I am here.
A recent live stream, but since then I've done some research on it, put it into context, and also found parts of the letter that weren't in the collection of the pieces of the letter that I had during the live stream. So I think this is going to be pretty interesting for you and might contain some information you've never heard before. In fact, I think it will. Also, we're going to be listening to excerpts of phone calls with Chris Watts while he was at prison. And these are really rare finds because his prison phone calls are not available through FOIA requests. So the way you have to get them is directly from the people who are on the other end of the phone with him. And when we put all of the information together, the information contained in the letter, the rare audio clips of Chris Watts' words from Dodge Correctional Facility, combined with what we know about this crime and the manner in which complete justice may not have been fully served?
No.
Well, I'm going to let you form your own opinion, but I dare say you're going to find this to be extremely interesting and compelling. This letter is not from the collection of letters from Chris Watts,
Okay.
a la Sherilyn Cadle in her book Letters from Christopher, and whatever other book she wrote or ripped off from.
Well, this kind of just lets us know that this man is not only just talking to probably his wife or the woman he is marrying, but he's got other shindigs women in there too.
Other people or whatever she did. This is completely separate from that. Although this letter is completely authentic, it has not been in wide circulation whatsoever. People who have talked about it in terms of being a letter that was composed to a woman named Anna. Anna is someone who...
And Anna is friends with Jamie.
Chris had a well-documented relationship with, a spiritual relationship that seemed to turn into a romantic boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. She visited him in prison every other week for a time being.
Gosh, bless America. Holy buckets. And this guy's...
She has a documented relationship with him. You'll hear from Anna a little later in this video. However, I was able to track the origin of this letter down to the person who got the goods, who got their hands on it and did make it public.
Ooh.
And that person is Dave. He had a YouTube, his girlfriend. Now, I'm not sure what Kim...
We're not introducing that person. I'm not talking bad, ill, nothing ever. I wish the best. And I wish nothing but blessings to that person. You might think, Zowoki, really? What God tells us to do is forgive and move on.
Kim G's objectives were, but I myself received an email from Kim G on January 30th, 2022. She says, "Good morning, Kelly. I was hesitant to write, but here I am. I am so careful due to my name being drugged through the YouTube dirt. Let me tell you a bit about myself. My name is Kim. I live in California. The Watts case intrigued me very much since the night I saw the news about the missing family. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Then I had an event in my life that changed my entire life. I forgot about the case for a while. I bought the book that came out in 2019, I believe, Letters from Christopher. I read it one night. Then I did something I never would have imagined doing. I wrote him. Weeks later, he wrote back. Chris and I started a pen pal relationship.
Is it that fast?
That would last 20 months. We wrote weekly, emailed, and talked on the phone daily. I don't have social media, so I had no clue about what was going on. What I did know is this person became close to me. I was torn over what to believe. And I'm not going to read the rest because she goes into talking about other creators on YouTube and such, and I don't want to start any drama. But this person is for real. I corresponded.
When was that done? Oh, this was like 4 years ago. Was I talking about the Chris Watts case in 2022? I don't think I was. I don't think I got on this until 2023. I think it was the end of 2023, to be honest.
So I had no clue about what was going on. What I did know is this person became close to me. I was torn over what to believe. And I'm not going to read the rest because she goes into talking about other creators on YouTube and such, and I don't want to start any drama. But this person is for real. I corresponded with her for a while. She had letters from Christopher that were between their correspondence together. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Now, although the letter I'm going to read in this video was not a letter that Kim G shared with me between herself and Chris Watts, I do tend to believe that the letter we are going to be reading was authored to Kim G. Again, all this information is not
like
the most important part of this video by any means.
Sorry.
What is important is what is said in.
I would say the letter is the contents of what's inside the letter is what matters.
The letter, along with the audio clips, the rare audio clips from Chris Watts speaking from prison. Okay, so let's talk about that little clip that I played in the beginning of this video, in the very beginning.
Okay.
Yes, that is Chris Watts' voice, and that is him on a recorded phone call between himself and, well, I guess it's either Anna or Kim
But who recorded it?
while he was in Dodge Correctional Facility in Wisconsin.
I remember Nichol Kessinger being there. All I know is that I felt like I was compelled by evil to do things that
I don't think I've heard this one.
I'd never thought about or done before in my life.
Now, although I can vouch for the fact that you just heard Chris Watts' voice, I cannot tell you that I know for a fact that that audio clip was not edited. So some people think that it was edited, so the word don't was eliminated. And Chris Watts really said, I don't remember Nichol Kessinger being there. But as we hear it now, what he says is, I remember Nichol Kessinger being there. What do you think?
It could go both ways. It could be, I remember her there, and they took it. That's the problem with nowadays, is everything can be so manipulated. It's hard.
I remember Nichol Kessinger being there. All I know is that I felt like I was compelled by evil to do things that I'd never thought about or done before in my life.
And of course, he says something that's become a bit of a theme in his statements whenever he talks about this crime, including when the three detectives went and interviewed him at Dodge Correctional Facility in February 2019, that he felt he was compelled by evil to do things he had never thought about or had done in his life. Remember that?
I felt like she could probably listen to me just laying beside her, but I got on top of her. And every time I think about it, I'm just
The invisible force that he says that he couldn't control himself.
it's like, did I know I was going to do that before I got on top of her?
Really? That's an interesting thought, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if you knew.
Because was it?
Just like the whole everything that happened that morning, I don't know, like I try to go back in my head. I'm just like, I didn't want to do this, but I did it. It's everything just kind of like,
Felt like you had to?
it just felt like it was, I don't even want to say it felt like it had to. It just felt like there was already something in my mind that was implanted that I was going to do it. And I woke up that morning, it was going to happen, and I had no control of it.
You never thought about it before?
It was just like, I don't want, like when, like you like in the sentencing hearing, that prosecutor said it takes 2 to 4 minutes, something like that to happen.
He
Like,
sat there
why couldn't I just let go? I didn't.
Oh, it's interesting.
because you thought of NK the entire time.
I just like,
Was it feeling like it was in motion and you just couldn't stop it?
yeah. It's just kind of like when I got on top of her,
Or he liked it.
we started talking. That was it.
Disgusting, man.
It's kind of like in my head, or like in the back of my head, that was going to happen. And just like at the end of the conversation, it's just like, that's what happened. I just wish I could have let go.
Coulda, woulda, coulda, dude.
Did it seem like it was that long? 2 to 4 minutes? How long did it seem for you?
It almost kind of felt like it was longer almost, because it felt like time was standing still. It's kind of like I just saw my life just disappearing before my eyes, but I just like I couldn't let it go. It was like somebody else, like if you picture somebody else around you holding your
What they all
hands, holding you, keep you from not letting go.
It is interesting to note that in so many accounts that Chris gives about what happened the morning of the murders, he is saying that there was a force outside of himself acting on him that caused him
And Nichol was into some dog shiz.
to commit this atrocity, whether he calls it evil or some kind of a not
Darkness.
well-defined force that was acting upon him, not allowing him to let go, that was compelling him to do what he did in the early morning hours of August 13th, 2018. Chris has a tendency to describe the crime in this way. So the question is Chris just simply not taking accountability for what he did?
Yep, that one. And that makes him not a man. What a man is he takes accountability for all his actions, good or bad.
Or is he indicating that there was, in fact, another element to this crime that has not yet been fully disclosed? Like
NK.
perhaps another person or people involved. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into that 5-page letter that was written by Chris Watts while he was in Dodge Correctional Facility in Wisconsin and was sent to either Anna or Kim G. We'll hear the same theme here in his statements where he is saying that he was not acting on his own volition. But in this letter, Chris reveals some very interesting details regarding his mistress and, well, a little more. When I met Nikki, I didn't know I was unhappy, but she asked all of those questions that brought it out of me. She brought it out of me. She got plenty of attention in the office, but her mind was set on me. Even showing her a picture of my kids and telling her I was married did not deter her efforts.
And she liked it.
She asked questions about my marriage that no one else did. I opened up and confided in her, the first of my many mistakes.
And she opened up for you.
I felt like I could be myself around her.
Was that all allowed?
But in reality, I didn't know who I was, and she took advantage of that. She kept her life hidden from me. I know her friends' names, but that was about it. I didn't know her habits or her dislikes. She was essentially a stranger who
That you were doing 5 to 6 times a day?
paraded me like a puppet.
Good.
In my heart, I feel like she had something to do with this tragedy. I know the evidence points to Shanann hurting the girls, and then I retaliated,
No.
but I don't see it. The way Nikki looked at me when I walked out of the sentencing,
Shanann did not hurt those girls. There is no absolute way.
she smiled like, gotcha. The discovery shows she called Jim consistently before me and after me, yet she says Jim didn't know him.
That's suspicious.
The 110-minute conversation on August 12th is still a blur. She texted me the entire way out to the oil field site on August 13th. So that's the morning of the murders. This may sound crazy, but I think I was hypnotized. How else does a person go from loving his family to the tragedy of August 13th?
You thought with your wrong head.
I see the events
Idiot.
over and
Sorry.
over again. My memory has not shifted. It felt like I had no control, like a plan was hatched and I was a pawn in a bigger scheme. Although I never saw it with my eyes, it came out later that she was into some dark things. The stones and
You knew that, dude.
anathema. And I'm going to tell you guys about that later.
What?
And he says, not sure how to spell it. And he spelled it correctly. I mean, he better spell it correctly with his self-proclaimed 140 IQ. She took a stone with her camping trip and says
Charged
it
it.
represents her grandmother. In the discovery, she was looking up things that were going through my mind. Did she put those thoughts there? I go
Like?
over it all in time in my mind. It felt like I was hunted, like prey. She found someone broken and devoured me whole. Not
And you
only me,
liked it.
but everyone in my home. If there was anyone else in my house that morning, then my mind has it blocked. You want me to tell you the truth and not to cover for anyone, but the only truth I know is that I feel like I did this. But it doesn't make sense.
I agree with you.
Bella's injuries to her lip would mean a lot of blood. No blood anywhere. Shanann's injury shows no intent because no broken bones, and I had no defensive wounds on me. She was a fighter, and I wouldn't be able to hold her down with just my legs. No chance. When I woke up that morning, I felt like I was in a trance. Put clothes on that were old and that didn't fit and didn't mind throwing away. Made my lunch and went back upstairs. I felt compelled, like I was told to do this. What I've told the authorities is what my mind remembers. Does it make sense? No, not at all. The Wisconsin interrogation, especially. I battle with this all the time. So many voices have been in my ear telling me I didn't do this, and that Shanann did. If she did, then I have no recollection of it. CBI's Tammy Lee put that scenario in my head, and I went with it.
Yeah,
I'm
blame
not
it on
sure
everybody else.
what is the complete truth, other than I felt like I was under some sort of compulsion. That is why I suspect Nikki and Jim being involved. But
So check it
I
out.
can't prove it. If I could prove it, then it would show no intent and my sentence would be drastically reduced. But it doesn't change the fact that I believe my hands did this. The brokenness I fight every day, and God is there to help me. Not only God, but my family and you. And then it is a name or maybe a term of endearment, not sure. I know the love that is in my heart to care for those in need, and it brings me to my knees in disbelief that I'm here. Wow, guys, what do you think about that letter? Do you believe what he says? Part of what he says? Does anything that he said in that letter, ring a bell for you? Like, oh my gosh, I knew it was true all along. Please leave a comment down below and let us know what you think. I know that a lot of people have ranging theories on what really happened in those early.
I've said what has happened. He murdered her. Somebody else took care of the kids. They helped clean up. It's just, and she deserves to be punished for her crime.
Morning hours of August 13th, 2018. And I want to know what you think about Chris's letter here.
Bullshit.
So let's break down what he said, including the fact that he believes that Nikki and Jim were involved, that she saw him at his sentencing and had a look on her face that was like, gotcha. That she was
Gotcha.
into dark things, that she texted him all the way to Survey 319 on the morning of the murders, and, well, everything that is of interest in this letter. But let's go in chronological order. So in the very beginning of the letter, Chris describes that Nichol Kessinger was pursuing him. She had his sights set on Chris, he says. He also said this: even showing her a picture of my kids and telling her I was married did not deter her efforts. And well, as far as that statement goes, we have to believe that that is true. Because although Nichol Kessinger maintained all along that Chris told her that he was getting separated from his wife from the very beginning.
We just kind of had a lot in common and just hit it off. So we'd always have, pretty good conversations. And then
She Googled everything that he was.
I don't know. One day he told me that he had kids and started talking about his kids and then mentioned, yes, that I have a wife, but we're getting separated.
You'll be shocked to find out that what she's saying there is absolutely not true. And how do we know this? In the
Emails.
first recorded communications between Kessinger and Watts, they were on Anadarko email on June 12th, 2018. Chris and Nichol are talking in a very sort of, like acquaintance, just met each other kind of way. And she
I think these emails, again, were placeholders.
says to him, I'm looking for someone to build a beautiful life. Seems so simple, but so unrealistic sometimes. Build something similar to what you have done with your wife and those cute little girls. So naturally, if Nichol is saying, I want something like what you have with your wife and those cute little girls, she was not under the impression at that time that Chris Watts was leaving his wife.
Nope.
So the fact that he told her that he was getting separated from the beginning is complete bullshit. As Chris's letter goes on, he says, she kept her life hidden from me. I know her friends' names, but that was about it. I didn't know her habits or her dislikes. She was essentially a stranger who paraded me like a puppet.
Yeah.
In my heart, I feel like she had something to do with this tragedy. I know the evidence points to Shanann hurting the girls, and then I retaliated, but I don't see it. The way Nikki looked at me when I walked out of the sentencing, she smiled like, gotcha. Now, I want to know, do any of you know that of Nichol Kessinger being at Chris Watts' sentencing? The only thing I recall hearing that would verify that she was, yes, in fact, at the sentencing and maybe gave him that look that was like, gotcha, was from this woman named Kim Kaufman. Now, who is Kim Kaufman? She was close with the Watts family. She spoke to Chris Watts, visited Chris Watts when he was in prison, and she was one of the people that wanted him to be able to take advantage of that 35C, the only legal relief he had to possibly, get him out of prison or have some legal action happen that would lessen his sentence. Nope. She believes that Shanann took the lives of the girls, and then Chris took Shanann's life, just like he said in the first confession. And I absolutely positively do not believe that, and I think it's absolutely disgusting. But she claims that Nichol Kessinger was, yes, in fact, at the sentencing.
So when he walks back out, that's where the media was stationed. That was right there, and then it was down around, like she was standing outside of the hall in like off of an interview room as he was being escorted out. And he did think, because they had had a conversation that she was not going to talk to the media.
Through the ringer.
And well, we know that Nichol Kessinger talked to the media just once, and that was to the Denver Post. And here is some of what she had to say, and it wasn't much.
Watts' lover said last week he had misled her from day one, telling her his divorce was almost final.
Yeah,
He's a liar, Nichol Kessinger told the Denver Post. He lied about everything.
I just want them back.
In that Denver Post interview, Nichol Kessinger also said that she knew Watts was married, but said that he told her he was separated from his wife. She said that Watts told her in July that his divorce had been finalized. What a load of crap is that? Wow. In her one media statement, she just flat out lied, a lie that can be easily proven by, any of the interviews that she had done, any of the 5 interviews that she had done with law enforcement. This is just crazy. Mm-hmm. In Watts' letter, he goes on to say, the discovery shows she called Jim consistently before me and after me, yet, she says, Jim didn't know him. The 110-minute conversation on August 12th is...
Then why did she Google 3-ways, man?
Still a blur. She texted me the entire way out to the oil field site on August 13th. So that's the morning of the murders. Now, I find it interesting that, kind of out of nowhere, Chris interjects information about the 111-minute phone call in this letter and says, he calls it the 110-minute conversation is still a blur. Of course it is. It's almost 2 hours of a phone conversation, just hours before his family was murdered, and neither Kessinger or Watts have remembered one single detail about it. Well, very few.
They can remember everything else but those phone calls.
Kessinger's coughed up a couple little things that she didn't think would be incriminating to her ever since, this happened. And both of them have been asked about this phone call because it's so suspicious many
That's suspicious.
times.
To the phone call on Saturday from 9 to 11. What did you guys, or pardon me, on Sunday from 9 to 11?
Yeah, we talked a few times. So
let me hold your hand for you to cry for exactly 30 seconds.
Sunday, okay. I think so. I need to think. I can't even think.
Take a couple breaths and take a second.
Sunday night. I don't even know. I don't think I was concerned about anything at that point.
You guys had had a nice meal the night before. You knew his wife was probably coming home late that evening.
You know what? I still don't remember what we talked about. Honestly, we talk about so much random stuff. It's so hard to pinpoint some of these things. I don't remember what we talked about. I do remember that was a long phone conversation that we probably talked about all sorts of stuff.
And isn't it incredibly interesting that the next phone event on Nichol Kessinger's
is not until the morning of the murders that she texts or she calls Jim for 1 minute.
Phone records after the 111-minute phone call is when her phone pinged in Frederick, Colorado, under 300 to 400 feet of the Watts house. If you want to know all about the intricacies of that ping and how we know that, watch the video linked in the description.
I have friends that work at Verizon and work in. They're the people that the technicians They've told me the radiuses and stuff. She's got to be within 350 meters or 350 feet.
And at 6:16 a.m., that was shortly after Chris Watts left his home to drive his truck with his family in it to Survey 319 to discard of his family's remains. Now, don't worry, we're getting to that little detail Chris threw in that letter that says Kessinger texted him all the way to the oil field the morning of the murders. But first, in that interview we were just listening to an excerpt of, the interviewer, Kevin Kobach, asks her to revisit the 111-minute phone conversation again. Every time he does it, he really fails. She's just totally avoiding it.
Any other conversation that makes sense?
I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm really tired, so I know there are certain things that I need to tell you guys that we'll get to as these days progress.
Yep.
But...
Oh, like when she wants to call him at 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning and talk about it?
In all honesty, if it doesn't stand out to me now, it probably wasn't relevant.
There she goes, gaslighting and leading the conversation in this interview that is supposed to be led by law enforcement. So Chris maintains that Kessinger texted him all the way on his journey from his home to the oil field the morning of the murders with his deceased wife in the back of his truck and his 2 little girls in the truck as well, on the way to Survey 319, where he will discard of their remains. In the interview, Nichol Kessinger is directly asked about Monday morning and specifically the next time she talked to Watts after the 111-minute phone conversation. And guys, listen to this.
I'm listening.
She does not want to answer that question. She will not answer that question.
Okay. Sunday, you're at home. You talk to him we know you have a conversation in the late evening hours, and then you go to sleep. On Sunday night. When's the next time you talk with Chris?
Probably Monday morning.
Do you know what time?
No, I mean, so we used to randomly text each other throughout the day, but we both get really busy. So some days I don't hear a lot from him, and some days I don't text him until 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I'm just busy. And I remember I didn't hear a lot from him that day, which was that's not out of the normal for either one of us. During the day.
This is a classic technique used by those who are being deceptive, and it is not to answer the question specifically, but when a specific question is asked, instead you respond in a generalization. Well, typically a pattern of our, our communications during the day would be like this. Well, that wasn't the question. He wanted to know exactly what happened on that Monday morning, the morning of the murders.
Right?
But at one point, I do remember he texted me.
I'm going to give you an answer, but it's not even to any part of what you just asked.
I mean, he's like, oh, it's been a really busy day. And then said some other stuff, which I'm sure you will find in my text. What he said, I don't know. It wasn't obviously anything that was alerting to me. That's what I'm saying. At this point, I remember really key things, but if it's a conversation that I'm I don't remember exactly what was discussed, it's because it was probably just bullshit. Just talking to each other. Yeah.
So what she's really saying in response to the question about what did you talk about during the 111-minute conversation and when did you guys talk again after the 111-minute conversation, she's saying, if I don't want to tell you, I'm going to tell you that I don't remember because it wasn't important. And if I don't remember, that means it wasn't important. And that is all I am going to say. And she expects that he is going to take that at face value. And gosh, I don't know. Did law enforcement take her at face value? I certainly hope not. But the fact of the matter is she is very clearly trying desperately to avoid talking about when she communicated with Chris Watts after the 111-minute phone conversation, which leads me to believe that she very well may have been texting him on his ride to Survey 319 and the entire time. That combined with her 6:16 a.m. ping right in front of the Watts house, well, it's all very suspicious, and he just might be telling the truth about that. What do you think? Let's go back to Chris's letter. This may sound crazy, but I think I was hypnotized. How else does a person go from loving his family to the tragedy of August 13th? I see the events over and over again. My memory has not shifted. It felt like I had no control, like a plan was hatched.
What murderer doesn't try to use this?
And I was a pawn in a bigger scheme. So here is that familiar theme that runs through Chris Watts' descriptions of what happened the morning of the murders and how it happened. That he was a pawn in a bigger scheme, that he had no control, that he was hypnotized, that something bigger than him was in control of him and he had to obey. What do you guys think of that? Although I never saw it with my eyes, it came out later that she was into some dark things. The stones and
dark hole kind of things.
And anathema. She took a stone with her camping trip and says it represents her grandmother. Here, and saying Kessinger was into dark things, Watts is touching upon something that many people have long believed about Nichol Kessinger, and this comes from a few different sources. First of all, Shanann Cadle, Chris Watts' longtime prison pen pal who wrote the books Letters from Christopher, said in a Daily Mail interview, quote, he, meaning Chris, told me dark sexual things that he did with his mistress.
He used the rocks on her, didn't he?
Cadle claimed in an interview published on Monday, March 9th, a lot of stuff I just won't repeat. But his relationship with Kessinger was very sexual, very twisted, very mixed up. And that's part of why I believe he did what he did. So she's saying that dark things happened between Watts and Kessinger. And it sounds as though she's saying that her dark influence is partly what caused Chris Watts to commit the murders. This is very much in line with what Chris says about himself.
Because of the sexual stuff.
That forces outside of himself compelled him or forced him to do what he did. There was a plan. He was a pawn. He had no choice. Another reason people believe that Nichol Kessinger was into dark things is due to her connection with the group Ordo Templi Orientis, or OTO, Order of the Temple of the East, or Order of the Oriental Templars. It is an occult secret society led by occultist Aleister Crowley. And guys, this is a really complex system of beliefs and group of occult people. If you want to learn more about this, I'm going to leave a link for you in the description of this video because it's just too much to go into here. But we do know that Nichol Kessinger had connections to this occult group. And in fact, she had a leader or a mentor in this group, and she spoke to that mentor.
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
On the day of the murders, and also just before the murders. According to her phone records, around the time of the murders, she spoke with this mentor of OTO by phone more frequently than she did than at any other time that we have, phone records to reference, which was a total of 3 months. And then Watts talks about Nichol Kessinger having a stone on the camping trip and saying it represents her grandmother, and she had to go out and, do some ritual with the moon when the moon was at a certain phase or at a certain time of night, I think to honor her grandmother. And then he mentions
nothing like a good flower that placed at her tombstone could do as well.
Anathema. Now, anathema has a couple different meanings, and one is something or someone that is vehemently disliked or loathed, or a person or thing that is detested or shunned, a formal curse by a pope or council of the church, like an excommunication. However, as with many words, they can have different meanings, and we have to look at the etymology, the word origin, and the word anathema's origin is in ancient Greek culture, and it was used in a more sacred sense. The word origin in Greek literally means something dedicated or offered up. In ancient Greek, it was used in the religious context to refer to offerings made to the gods, objects or even people set apart for divine purposes. So in this context, given what he tells us about Nichol Kessinger and the stone and her grandmother, it seemed she was doing a ritualistic offering to, for her in the name of her grandmother while they were at the sand dunes. I think the anathema she's involved with might be, the more sacred spiritual offering up kind of anathema, but we don't really know. I'm really surprised Chris Watts knows the word, and who knows if Nichol Kessinger knows what she's doing. Probably not. But I could be wrong. Maybe she was into things that are darker than I can even imagine. What do you guys think about that?
I couldn't.
So let's go on with Chris's letter here.
I heard it's bad.
When I woke up that morning, I felt like I was in a trance. Put clothes on that were old and that didn't fit and didn't mind throwing away. Made my lunch and went back upstairs. I felt compelled, like I was told to do this. Now, for me, this part is easy. I think he felt compelled like he was told to do this because he did feel compelled, because he was told to do what he did, to get rid of his family, to murder his family. I feel absolutely certain that Nichol Kessinger gave Chris Watts a stark ultimatum on the evening of Sunday, August 12th, just hours before the murders. And there's lots of...
Or he did the murders and then called her freaking out saying, I need your help. I just did this. Blah, 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 blah. And she's like, I'm coming.
Evidence to back this up. And, he alludes to this in a number of interviews or letters that he writes to people, but he never will come and just say it outright. And I wonder why that is. Does he realize that Nichol Kessinger gave him an ultimatum that ultimately, pushed him to do what he did to his family? Although, trust me, I completely blame him for his own actions.
I do.
Or does he not want to say it for some reason? To protect her? To save face? I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I think exactly what you said.
I battle with this all the time. So many voices have been in my ear telling me I didn't do this and that Shanann did. If she did, then I have no recollection of it. CBI's Tammy Lee put that scenario in my head.
And they didn't even verify this.
And I went with it.
Like, no,
I'm not sure what is a complete truth, other than I felt like I was under some sort of compulsion. That is why I suspect Nikki and Jim being involved. But I can't prove it. So now this is a really strange line of reasoning.
Well, this entire time, it could be that Nichol was involved. They're not going to look into it because they could care less. They got what they wanted. And it's just going to be left like this. But why is that okay that some people are just like, you know what? It is what it is. I hate that phrase. It is what it is. That phrase can go suck it. It's not, it is what it is. There are ways for deflection. There are ways for satisfaction. And I don't feel like this is satisfied because she's involved. I have it in my bones, my heart and soul. I can feel it.
And, connecting thoughts here. And I was also really surprised when I read that Chris Watts actually said this, that he implicated Jim in the crime. So I think it's good that he acknowledges, although there's all those people in his ear telling him that Shanann did this. And I believe he's talking about all of the proponents of the 35C that Kim Kaufman I was talking about, maybe his family at the time. And, just some other people that were trying to convince him to take some legal action, to try to, get a new trial, to get his sentence reduced or whatever the case may be. I'm glad that he acknowledges that he knows that Shanann did not kill the children. So then he says, all I know is that I felt compelled to do this. And that is why I believe that Nikki and Jim were involved. Well, I don't quite get that. So you felt compelled to do this. So the next logical step is that I conclude that Nikki and Jim, I mean, I can understand why he would say then the next logical step might be.
I can't say that Jim's involved. I don't see the motive he would get unless it was for Nichol. That makes sense.
I think Nikki had something to do with this because I think she did. But where did Jim come from? Why did he bring Jim up here? I think that is super interesting. Now, we do know that, yes, it was true what he implied in the letter that Nichol would be on the phone with Chris, and as soon as she'd hang up, she'd call Jim or vice versa, almost in a very reliable pattern. You see on Kessinger's phone bill here, the calls that are highlighted in yellow are calls between Kessinger and Jim, and the calls that are highlighted in blue are the calls between Kessinger and Watts. Also, when Chris Watts went to North Carolina for that 1 week with his family from July 31st to August 7th, Nichole's frequency and the duration of the phone calls with Jim increased substantially.
Significantly.
We know that Jim was at Nichol Kessinger's house the Monday of the murders. He was there when she arrived home from work. He had a key to her apartment. And we know that 6:16 a.m. ping right outside of the Watts house, that was a phone call made to Jim. Now, I personally am not one who is...
And why was this not verified?
...ever believed that Jim was in any way involved in the crime, but...
I don't know why he would be.
The only thing that makes me wonder if I'm right or...
It's the reason why she wants us to leave Jim alone is Jim is the alibi.
Not is... the very bizarre way that Nichol Kessinger acts when Jim is brought up in her interview. And Kevin Kobach suggests that he might be able to get a hold of Jim, basically so Jim can corroborate her alibi, which she would think would be a great thing. And she absolutely bugs out. So now that we know that at least in one letter, Chris Watts implicated Jim in the crime, what do you think about all that, guys? Do you think he was involved? I know a lot of people do. It comes up all the time in comments and in chat. And, if you think so, what do you think his role was? And if you don't think he was involved, why does Nichol Kessinger act so freaking weird when he comes up in the interview?
I clocked out at 3 is what my time card says. That's what I was showing Mark the other day. And I got home to go meet my buddy. One of my good friends was coming over my house, and he actually has a key to my house, so he was actually there when I got there. And
who's that?
My friend Jim.
Don't you dare talk to him.
And so Jim came over, and I got home. He was there. He had just walked in the door, and
don't you dare.
I remember briefly after he got there, I checked my texts. I mean, briefly after I met up with Jim, I glanced at my texts, and Chris said something about my family's not home, or my wife and kids aren't home, something to that effect. And I told Mark, because he asked me for a time, and I don't have an exact time, but I remember it was right after I walked.
That was a text message, though.
Yeah, it's in a text, and it's it was briefly after I walked in the door, so based off how long it takes me to get home from work and when I clocked out, it's probably about 3:45 p.m. Texts me and tells me that. And he knows when I get off of work too, so he doesn't always bug me if I'm busy. So I don't know what's up with that, but that's when he sends that to me. And
so you're saying that he would have known that you would have had your phone available to you and not been at work when he sent you that text message?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
So looking back at it, you think it was purposefully sent at that time?
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm just asking your feeling on that.
Yes, and then he said, "Call me when you can." And I was
there was no other communication between you and him that morning, on Monday morning?
Well, there was, but it was random,
But nothing about this event?
No.
About my wife's missing, or
no,
anything?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
And you knew he wasn't coming to the office because he had told you that Sunday night.
Yeah, and then he goes, and so they're only in the office.
But then why did you want the text message to verify that it had a leak?
office for the morning. Like some days it's longer than others, but I would say by a maximum of 7:30 every single morning they're all gone, and they don't come back unless they have like a meeting or something that they have to attend. So like not seeing him for the rest of the day is not like an unnormal thing.
Okay.
Like, but like I'm saying, like we don't really. The only reason we interact was kind of like by an off chance thing. Like I don't work with him. So he. Yeah, we talked like randomly throughout the day, but it was really sporadic, and he seemed pretty busy, so we didn't talk too much. Like I said, didn't put too much thought into it. It happens all the time. Waited till about 3:45, then sent that text to me, and yes, he does know that I will be home at that point, or getting home.
Did you give Mark Jim's information?
No, I would really not like to involve him in this. He does not know about this. He was not. Like, he doesn't know any of this is occurring.
Okay.
Like, I was literally...
So he knows, certainly through the media, that something's occurred.
Yeah, he's
with
like
Chris.
out of town. He's probably has no idea. He doesn't know who Chris is. Like, he's not... I do not know.
So he's just a friend of yours.
Yes.
He does not... was coming to your apartment and doesn't know anything about Chris. Does he know anything about Chris?
No, nothing. Absolutely not.
We've known Jim for... years and years.
You're not dating him or anything like that?
No, he's like one of my very good friends. Like, my dad knows him. He's a great guy. He works out of state a lot, so when he's in town, we hang out. But when he's in town and he's off of work, to save time, so I give him the key to my house, one, because I trust him and he's one of my best friends, and two, because sometimes he will just meet me there. Because I'll be like, hey, I'm getting off of work, and then if I get stuck in traffic or something, he ends up like sitting outside of my apartment waiting for me to get off of work. So I'm like, here's the key, and like my dog loves him and stuff. So no, he's not.
So he's just a family friend.
Yes, I don't even.
The only reason I ask, and I'm not really concerned about your location. I think we already have your cell phone records. At some point, did Mark ask you to supply? Did they ask for consent to get cell phone records? That'll probably be done by warrant. If we wanted,
what you just did?
Nope. What I'm talking about is your movement.
Yeah. They collect it, but they don't even look at it. So
by GPS or by cell phone tower to show where you were. Obviously, and I don't want to cause you concern. We want to know where you were that day too. You're dating a man who did some egregious stuff, and we want to show that you were never near him that day.
And they can't verify it.
I mean, you guys can track my
No,
stuff.
yeah, I mean, that was something we will have to get a warrant for anyways. I'm just saying, if we asked for it, would you have any objections to that?
No, you can have it.
So...
I'm a pretty boring person.
Well, it sounds like you just went to work that day, and then you came home, and you were there at 3:45.
Yeah, like give or take like 5 minutes.
Whatever.
But yeah, so 3:45... I meet Jim there. Yeah, I would.
And so Jim is understand from an investigative point, he could be a person who could say, yeah, I was there at 3:45. He doesn't know Chris. He doesn't know anything. He could say with one phone call, yeah, she came in at 3:45. Done.
Totally.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I don't have to ask anything more than, hi, Chris, my name's Kevin, or Jim. And I'm not saying you have to give it to you.
Just leave Jim alone.
If at some point I needed Jim's info to... Let's say we couldn't find your phone records. Would you tell me who Jim was?
I will give them to you.
Would you tell me who Jim was if I couldn't get him?
If you had to. Okay. I don't really want to involve him in this. That's not fair to him. That's not... No. If I do not have to do that.
That's fine.
This has never made sense. So why would it be so unfair to Jim if investigators had to call him, regarding a murder case, a murdered pregnant woman and her 2 little kids, to corroborate Kessinger's alibi? Exactly. Why is that, why is that like skin off Jim's back? Why is that so off-putting to him? Why is that unfair to Jim? This is very, very bizarre. This is one of the more curious, troubling behaviors that she exhibits in the interview that I really do not have an answer as to why. Why is it such a big deal for investigators to contact Jim? Later on in the interview,
and let's not verify it, okay?
Kobek asks about contacting her friend Charlotte, and she has no problem with it. So let me know what you guys think. Is Chris Watts onto something when he says that he believes that Nikki and Jim were involved? Do you think Jim was involved? Do you think Nikki was involved? What do you think about the other things that he said in this letter that he authored from prison to a lady friend. Was it Anna or Kim? I vote Kim. Oh, hey, so I did promise you some more prison calls from Chris Watts in this video, but you know what? This video has gotten a lot longer than I was anticipating, just talking about the letter and the couple little recordings we listened to. I'm going to leave you guys a link in the description to another video that is a 2001 prison phone call between Chris Watts and a private detective. There's a woman who is on the phone at various times, and that is the Anna that I spoke about in this video. So if you guys want to go check that out, there's a lot more to talk about regarding communications from Chris Watts from prison. So we will be doing that very.
Oh man, just the ice that's there. Like we get close to the ice and then Nichol gets like so freaked out or whatever. And then something else comes up and then something. It's just funny how that happens. But I just love that people are having a discrepancy with the I remember or I don't remember. Is it the I don't? Or is it the I remember? Being there, she made me feel, or she made me evil. I couldn't move. I didn't feel like myself. Some of this I've never even heard myself, including these messages. Well, that's a first, but the messages just open up a Pandora's box. And it's like, okay, that Pandora's box, why aren't we verifying that Pandora's box of evidence? They're just like, yeah, we've already been down this road. We're good. We think we're good. Come on, just verify it so we can move on. Because I want her to be like what she's able to rack up in charges. She could be in there for 10 years. It depends on how deep the rabbit hole goes. And what we can see is that rabbit hole is pretty deep. Comment your thoughts down below. If you agree to disagree, she was involved. I'm sorry. You can't change my mind on it. If you do, let me know. I want to hear how you think she's not involved. We can discuss, debate, and still be civil and cordial and just not be so cancel happy as you will. Please take care, guys. Be safe. As always, keep nerding on, and we will see you guys, of course, in the next video. Peace.